Hello everybody, and welcome back to Sean's Story and Adventure channel. Today we're going to be discussing cemeteries. This will be two parts. The first part is going to be about cemeteries in the Philippines, followed by a slideshow, if you will, of pictures of Philippine cemeteries. The second part is going to be U.S. cemeteries in the United States, which will be followed by a slideshow. First, we're going to discuss cemeteries in the Philippines. Poor cemeteries in the Philippines, it's a lot different than the United States. Poorer cemeteries, of course, everyone's going to get buried or put in a sarcophagus or an above-ground grave. In tradition, Philippines generally, they bury their bodies above ground in either sarcophagus or a mausoleum. Very seldom that you'll see one in the ground. Now, the weird thing about cemeteries there is, versus the United States, is unless you own the land or actually own the mausoleum or the plot, whatever the body's going to be put in, you're going to be on a 5-year contract. Meaning you sign up to put your loved one inside of a space which is like a square, where the casket would go in. And after 5 years, I believe you either renew the contract, of course that costs money, or they relocate the body somewhere else. Now that's a gray area. I talked to Karina about that a little bit, and sometimes they'll keep you in there. What they'll do is they'll just remove your body or your remains out of the casket, put your bones back in there, push it to the back, and then bury somebody else in a casket inside that same area. In other cases, I've heard when they relocate the body, nobody knows where it goes, so they dispose of it somehow. Now, middle-class cemeteries are a little different. Karina's considered middle class with her family there, and what she's done is, years ago, she actually purchased land. It's about the size of a small apartment as far as square footage. I don't know the exact square footage, neither does she. I've been there before, and there's, I think, 3 or 4 family members in there so far, and from what I can remember, there's probably enough room for about 10 or 15 more. So that's owned and paid for. You don't have to worry about a contract. Those loved ones are going to be there forever. They're not going to go anywhere. And the cool thing is, I noticed, actually, don't notice, I know, during birthdays, they'll throw a birthday party on the land, and it's fenced off and all that. And they spend all day there. Food, life celebration, and whatnot, and that's really neat. I've seen pictures of it and some video from Karina and her family the last time she was there when I wasn't able to go. So yeah, they own the land, they own everything, they don't got to worry about it. Now you have rich cemeteries. Rich cemeteries, they're going to purchase the land and they're going to put a mausoleum on it. And I've seen them firsthand. I have a video somewhere. It's really long and kind of actually boring. But you're walking through a neighborhood. And this neighborhood, I didn't even know it until I was told. This is when we were on our way to see Karina's niece, who was buried inside the lot that Karina owns. I didn't even know I was walking through a cemetery. I was walking through a cemetery. I thought I was walking through a neighborhood. These places are like houses. They have parking garages, screen doors, and that's still the middle class. They do that. But rich people, they'll put a joint in there, a big, it's like a house. It could be 1, 2, up to 3 stories. And some of the better ones, which you'll see, the most expensive ones that you'll see in the pictures to follow are, we'll just leave that in there. Someone, TJ needs his phone, I guess. Whoever TJ is. Anyways, This guy's ruining my video. Yeah, they'll have everything in there: electricity, televisions, flushing toilets, air conditioning. And in some cases, in the rich and the middle class, if they have a mausoleum, I've never heard of anybody directly related to Karina that's done this, but these places are so comfortable, they get used to being, they lose the creepiness of the cemetery. And some people will take up residencies inside these places because they do have electric, televisions, air conditioning, flushing toilets, plumbing. So that's a little bit different from the way things work in the United States. Now we'll be discussing cemeteries in the United States. Everyone gets buried everywhere. Of course, there's cremations in the Philippines, there's cremations in the United States. Cremating is a heck of a lot cheaper. There's some different ways they do it as far as money goes. The last I heard, like in the state of New Hampshire, if you're going to have a body cremated or a loved one's remains cremated, they do it based by the pound. I don't know too much about that. Anyways, as far as burials in the United States, once you're in the ground, you're staying there. They're not gonna. There's no contract. There's no. If you buy the. It's not land around the. You can buy land around like a land inside of a cemetery, just like you would in the Philippines, and some people do that. Generally, they buy the grave. They buy the hole that the body is going to be put in. The loved one's going to be put in, and then shortly afterwards, a tombstone is erected after being manufactured. If you really don't have a lot of money, or you don't choose to, or some cemeteries don't have tombstones. They have just, I think they're plaques, and the plaques go on the ground. That way, lawnmowers can run over it and won't screw anything up. That's my take on it. But yeah, the graves are permanent. You're not going to be dug up. In some cases, I've heard in the past, with the old cemeteries, they've relocated the cemeteries. It's not really a big topic out here, but it has happened. And whoever remembers the movie Poltergeist, it's kind of creepy. They relocated the cemetery. They removed the headstones, but they they neglected to remove the bodies. That's just a movie. Most people are buried in ground. Some people choose mausoleums where you can put a family in there and whatnot. And those are generally locked off to the public, meaning you can't just walk in there. There's a padlock on it. And probably, up until they're long and forgotten about, once a year, family members will go in there, they'll unlock it, put flowers inside the mausoleum and whatnot. And but there's no, as far as American people go, here in the United States, I've never seen any like parties on a birthday at a gravesite. So now in some states, such as Louisiana, most of the bodies, I think, and if not all, are buried above ground. And the reason being is because the water table, you dig down so deep, you're gonna hit water. And there's been cases where there's been hurricanes and stuff like that, where bodies that were in the ground have just washed away down the road and resurfaced somewhere else. So yeah, so mausoleums are for people that have money, or a long-term family plot like that. But like I said, most of the bodies are going to be buried underground, 6 feet under. And now with health and safety issues, over the past years, that they do, instead of putting the casket directly into the dirt, there's a liner, a concrete liner. So it's like a sarcophagus underground. So they lower that with tractors or whatever, crane. Then they put the casket in it, and then they seal the top. with another piece of concrete, a sarcophagus. So I guess we're going to wrap this up, and here's some video, or not video, some slides of U.S. cemeteries. Anyways, folks, until next time, see you.